Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports for a review of the Cheetahs versus the Griquas match yesterday, as the Cheetahs got back 2 winning ways, their first win since a very good victory against the Bulls, what seems like a very, very long time ago. In the weeks preceding this week, they suffered heavy defeats against Stormers, as well as a very sloppy defeat against the Sharks. But yesterday, they really grinded out a very good result against the against the Griquas. And look, 28-9 doesn't entirely tell the story of a match that was very close for a long time. And a game where I thought that the Griquas were almost sort of... I thought at one stage that the Griquas were onto something, because they were doing very well at getting into the danger area, winning a penalty, converting points, and keeping up with the Cheetahs throughout the match. And I thought that, bar in the first half especially, bar a very messy try, the Griquas by and large were probably the better side. And in very wet conditions, very difficult conditions to play, the Griquas seemed to be handling the game pretty well, and the Cheetahs were making some very basic errors. And it looked like the Griquas were there to play. And I think that reflects in, if you look at some of the match stats. And look, to be fair, the Cheetahs scored a try after half time, which took them up to 69, and it was like that for a long time of the game, until 2 tries at the end then sort of saw a scoreline, which doesn't, as I said, doesn't entirely tell the story of the match. Before you get into the match itself, please do consider subscribing. Bottom right hand corner there, smash the like as well, turn on your notifications so that you never miss a moment with Forever Sports. So if you look at the match, she scored 4 tries to 0 from Griquas, and that was the problem. The Griquas just couldn't convert their opportunities into big points. They got some penalties along the way, but they really couldn't get over the line, which was the big part. But if you look at the tackles, for example, Cheetahs were made 81 tackles, they missed 8, whereas the Griquas made just 69 tackles and missed 7. So it was a game that was very, very tight. They weren't, as I said, much better tackle statistics in terms of what we've seen in the competition, so that is a nice positive. But a lot of kicking, 31 kicks in play by the Cheetahs, 25 by the Griquas. And a game which, as I said, it was quite evenly balanced. You look at the breakdown, for example, 95.7% rucks won by the Cheetahs compared to 92% by the Griquas. So they weren't losing a lot of the breakdown. The Cheetahs were very dominant come scrum time, as well as in the mauls. They won 7 mauls to the Griquas 3. Scrums, 100% of scrums won by the Cheetahs, but just 71% by the Griquas. So that was an area where they really struggled to get going. And the Griquas just conceded too many penalties as well. 14 penalties conceded to 9 of the Cheetahs. But by and large, a lot of the game was played in the sort of the middle two quarters. So yeah, it shows you that it wasn't quite as one-sided. Possession-wise, 47% Cheetahs, 53% Griquas. So Griquas actually had a lot more of the ball, but they couldn't convert that into big points. And I think, if you look at the running meters by the players, for example, it shows you how wet and how horrible the conditions were. Only one player ran over 55 meters with the ball, and that was Clayton Blommetjies, who carried the ball 10 times, to be fair. So you can understand why there were so many running meters. But something like Randall Smith didn't make any running meters, So it was a game that was very tight, and I thought a couple of standouts. Roscoe Speckman worked very hard. Probably should have had 2 tries. Came very close to having 2 tries. Andisile, who I thought was very good once again, scored the one before Ruben de Haas stole the second. But yeah, a close game. I thought Jean-Ray Rudolph carried the ball quite well, but I think the tackle statistics will sort of kind of show the better part of the game. And I think hats off to the young fly half Tiennes de Beer, who made 11 tackles and didn't miss 1 for the Griquas. And what a welcome return for Opa Mohoja, who made 9 tackles, also didn't miss 1. He was fantastic, very physical, had a very good outing, was called into the lineup in the place of Junior Pocamelo, who was ruled out of injury, and I thought he was terrific. And it was really good to see him back, really good to see that he made it through a good portion of the game, didn't go off for the injury or anything like that, looked very, very strong. Francois Steyn was very physical in the midfield, and interesting stories about Junior Pocamelo and Francois Steyn being linked with a move to the Bulls for the Pro 16 to try and sort out those sort of issues. The Bulls sort of lacking an inside centre, with a kind of converting Cornwall Hendricks right now, and with an injury to Al Low and stuff like that. Probably trying to add Junior Pocamelo would be a good fit. But in terms of this game, it was a very tight game. And you look at the points, for example, and Tian Schoeman kicked 6 points. Whereas Tears de Beer was the only point scorer for the Greek was 9 points. But the try scorers for the Cheetahs were Andisa Ntila, Jean de Rudolph, as well as Haum Nisi and Ruan de Haas. Rana Fontaine also kicked a late conversion to sort of cap off a good victory. And I think that the important thing is that this was a similar type of game in terms of being not necessarily being sloppy, but just being very tight. That the Sharks versus Cheetahs game where the Cheetahs couldn't convert their points. This time they could convert the opportunities into points, and shock and horror, they won the match. But positive sides for the Griquas, and we saw it last weekend and we saw it again. The Griquas are not a bad side, and I think that it's so difficult being a Griquas, being a Pumas, where everything is stacked against you in terms of trying to compete with these teams, but they are standing up and trying to at least produce some better competition. And there's been a lot of negativity surrounding the competition, and everybody's saying it's a farce, and this Super Rugby in general has been a joke, stuff like that. I choose not to get into the negativity because I think that we knew what we were getting into, and I think you're lying to yourself if you think after the year we've had, 7 months of no rugby, if you thought we were going to have some blockbuster, incredible standard of rugby immediately. This was always going to be pretty much a filler competition just to get rugby back on the screens. Isn't that the main thing? I don't think people need to get so caught up in the fact that, this isn't a real Super Rugby, this isn't a real Super Rugby title, the rugby is so bad, blah, blah, blah. I think it's a lot of negativity in terms of the economy and the situation is rubbing off and people are getting very upset about this. I just think it's nice to have rugby back, and I think that we are starting to see closer games, better rugby. The Pumas yesterday, a depleted Pumas yesterday, rocked up in the second half and put in a really good performance against the Bulls. Take the positives, find some positives. I think now we move into the Currie Cup, we can be a lot more critical over the games. Every team has played 6 games except for the Lions, who played 5. But the final standings are Bulls obviously on top of the log, 23 points. Stormers second on 19 points. Didn't manage to play a 6th game. Sharks 19 points as well. Cheetahs on 17 after their 5. Lions on 10 after 4 games. So an interesting log, and then Pumas on 7, Griquas on just 3. So I look at this, Cheetahs are definitely putting their hand up and sort of saying, we deserve to be in the Pro 16, but it is difficult to judge where the Lions did have 2 matches called off, one of them against the Cheetahs. So that would have been a very interesting turnaround in terms of what would happen points-wise. But as we move into the Currie Cup now, I think we're going to see hopefully a lot more consistency. We can start being a lot more critical. Some of these players have now been playing for 9 weeks, so there can be no doubts about fitness levels now. We still have to contend with COVID, however. There still will be issues around that. And unfortunately, I think as we move into the festive season and a lot more interprovincial traveling across the country, in all likelihood, we might start seeing more COVID impacted games, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the important thing at the moment is just to get through to the end of the Currie Cup, and then we go from there. Hopefully, when we start having a vaccine and everything starts going back to normal, we can start better sort of getting to grips with where each of our unions are. But the important thing now is just to start all these unions to start just fine tuning and start finding consistency. And I think that's where the Bulls won because they consistently managed to get the results. They had a couple of close games. A lot of people saying that they didn't deserve the win. I think it's nonsense. They were the best side, and you can't really argue about that. Points difference of 86 points compared to Stormers 28 just speaks volumes. They lost just 1 game, and they were the best side. They really were the best side, and they're playing some top rugby at the moment, so you can't really take that away from them. But now, going into the Currie Cup, the Stormers and the Sharks might feel hard done by, and now they need to prove why they felt hard done by, and go and make a statement and go and get to the top of the log. They're not far behind the Bulls. Stormers beat the Bulls, and suddenly the entire log is open. The Lions need to get winning. The Cheetahs, if they want to continue sort of saying that we deserve to be, they want to try and climb that log. So I think it's very well poised for what's going to be a very interesting Currie Cup campaign. But we'll look at more of that in the week to come ahead of the start of the Carling Currie Cup. Thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe, bottom right hand corner there, turn on your notifications as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll chat to you very, very soon.